have this footprint from one of my customers who sent it to me through mail. I don't like to email them or anything because it changes sizes through email or fax or whatever. So I have them trace it and mail it to me directly, so I have their exact tracing. So this is the what their footprint looks like after they stand up and they'll trace it. What I like to do when I get it to this point is I like to shape it into a nice shape that kind of looks more like almost like a shoe, the bottom of a shoe. And from this point, what I like to do is I like to find the middle of the foot. So as you can see, this one here is like 4 inches wide, so I'm just going to find the middle. And down here, it's about 1.5 inches, so 2.5 inches I should say. So 1.25, and then I just draw another line straight down the middle. So I have it like that. Now I want to add 1/4 inch to the end. And I like to add that 1/4 inch to the end just so we have enough room, so it doesn't end up too small. So we shaped it, found the middle, and we added 1/4 inch onto the pattern itself. Now I'm just going to cut it out. So from this foot pattern, we're going to start to make the pattern that we use to cut out the hide. So like I said, this is a woman, so I usually make them between 7.5. On occasion I made them 8 inches wide, but today we're going to go 7.5. So from this end to this end is going to be 7.5. And then we need to find the middle, which is 3 3/4. And then we're just going to make these lines here. And okay, now we're going to match these lines up. But first I need to make another 1/4 inch from the bottom here. Actually, I like to make like 3/8. So this is what we're going to put the end of the heel of our moccasin, of the sole here, the pattern that we're using. And then we match up the lines so that they're centered. The other thing I like to do is make sure I'm giving myself enough room here, and I want it to be the same on both sides. This is where I'm going to start curving in towards the toe from each side. So we find the highest point of the toe here, and we're just going to start creating this curve here. So now we're going to cut this out. So we have our moccasin pattern. From this moccasin pattern, we're going to get our hide. You can see I have a nice buckskin here, nice smoked hide here. It's pretty even, doesn't stretch out that much. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the back side. This is the side. You can tell the difference between the front side and the back side. And I like to bead on this more smooth side. This is the side the hair was on, and the other side was the inside. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the inside because I don't want any marks to be on the outside. So this is the inside. The hair side is the side I like to bead on. It's a little bit more smoother. This is the hair, the side that was inside. So we're going to use the pattern that we made. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace it on this side, and then we're going to flip it over and trace it on this side. So, and like I said, I'm marking the side that I'm not going to bead on because I don't want to make a lot of marks on the side that I'm going to bead on, especially with the pen. So what I'm going to do, what I still need to do is I want to keep this middle line. I always want to know where the middle of my work is at. And we're just going to trace this pattern here. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start mapping out where my designs are going to go. So we had the middle last time, but I'm just going to make sure it's the same. It probably is, but I like to just do it this way too. Pretty close, yeah. There's the middle there, there's the middle there. So it was pretty much exactly where we wanted it. So I always like to keep the middle. So I'm going to mark this with a pencil. I don't use a pen when I mark on the side I'm going to bead on. And some people don't like to mark, but I like my work pretty precise, so I mark everything. Because I want that to be the middle. Because I want whatever's on this side to be on this side also. So I try to make them symmetrical. Okay. The next thing I want to do, I want to figure out where my tongue is going to be. And the tongue is going to come this way. It's going to sit here. So I want to figure out where that's going to be. The way I figure that out is I fold my moccasin in half, kind of mark it there. And then I add 1/4 of an inch onto that. So this one's going to be 5 3/4. That's where my tongue is going to be. And then I add another 1/4 of an inch onto that. And that's where, from this part over here is where I'm going to bead. So we have the center line, we have where the tongue is going to go, and then we have this area here where we're going to bead the toe. This pair is going to be fully beaded, so I'm going to bead down this way too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a line from the edge that's 1/4 of an inch, because we need some space at the edge to put it onto the sole so that you can sew it down to the sole. So I'm going to add just put 1/4 of an inch on there. So now that I have the colors that I need on there, I'm gonna lay them down. And the way that I lay my colors down, my beads down at first, well, at all times, is I kind of spread them down like this, kind of hold the thread down, make sure they're pushed up right. Actually, yeah. Okay. And then I just put my needle down right between the thread, right at the end of those beads. Now, I went through the hide. So now I'm going to come back up to the top part of the hide so I can do my next row of beads here. And now I'm laying it down directly next to the other one. But I'm not making it too close. I'm letting it lay as natural as it could and letting it be all, you know, just as natural as it can be. I'm not trying to force it this way or make it come out this way. I'm just laying it right down next to the one before it. And the same thing, I'm going to just leave that, put that needle right at the end of the beads and just go through a hide. The next thing we need to watch out for, especially on the toe, is the way that the beads are laying here. We need them to start to move like this. So the back end on this side needs to start moving away from these beads so that they'll keep straight with this line, this line here. So I'm not going to lay them next to right here. So I'm just going to spread it out just a bit. So basically what I'd be doing is just beading this whole border. And then then I'd fill in the toe. And then I would fill in the sides with the same kind of technique I'm using right here. You have to create that curvature, so you have to like keep the spacing as even as it can be. But when you start going around the curves, the sides that are the ends that are on the outside, it can stay even because it's always going to be straight with this. See, when I'm laying them flat too, and I want to try to make that a straight line, so I'm not trying to move it over here or make it too close over here. So I just want to try to make it straight.
Straight down.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to hold this side down too, otherwise you're just pulling it too tight, and that affects the stitch also. So we'll do that. And the first thing we're going to do, because we have it all beaded. It's all beaded, so we're going to cut down to the center line here, and then we're going to cut where the tongue is going to go. And then we're going to sew the tongue on. And then from there we can cut out the sole, groove the sole, and then punch the holes in the sole, so that we don't have to struggle to push a needle through it. So just come down, basically it's down the center of the moccasin. I wish I had a better scissors. And the tongue I'm using on this is, I usually make them about 3.5 wide and then 4 inches tall. And then I taper them after that. So when I do a whip stitch, I try to make the stitches uniform. Like I try to space them out the same, and I try to put them in the, like this, so they're straight across. You know, sometimes you'll see whip stitches and they'll be like all thin and some will be wide. But I try to stay pretty uniform with it just to make them look a little bit better. When you're using pliers to pull the needle through, pull the needle straight out. Some people, they'll tend to either curve it like this or curve it like that. For some reason they think it helps them to pull, but it doesn't. That's all it does is bend your needle. So you're just grabbing it and pull it straight out. So we're gonna get that one, and of course that was that side, so we gotta flip it over and do the other side. And leaving a little bit of room here because I'm not cutting these out right on the line. I'm gonna leave some space there. And like I said, I'm not gonna cut right on the line. I'm gonna leave like maybe an eighth, eighth of an inch to a quarter of an inch away from the edge of this where I marked the line. Once we got that, the reason I'm not cutting it on the line because that is where the actual outline of the person's foot is, but that's also where the stitches are going to go. And I don't want, if I cut them right on the line, then we'd have to stitch them even further inside that, and that would make it too small for whoever the moccasins are for. So now I'm going to use this grooving tool. It's just going to make a groove where I want my thread to lay. Some people like to have this as the bottom of their sew, but most people like the rough side because it's not so slick. Yeah. Then I also run this twice just to make sure it's deep enough in there so that the thread is never going to hit the ground. So I'm going to run it on this twice at a time. And when I'm using my awl, I'm going straight down. So what I like to do is just to make sure everything is in the center, I kind of just run my lashing around the outside of this. So I'm going to mark it there. Center line there. So that's how long the outside is. So I'm going to mark it in the center. And so if I do it for this, I got to do it for this too. Just to make sure they're both lining up right in the center.
So now you have the same center on both the sole ones.
Right.
So
now I'm going to take my needle that has my wax floss on it, and I'm going to put it right where that center mark was, where we figured it out. I'm going to put it on this one too. I came up from the bottom of the moccasin, okay? The knot's on the inside of the moccasin, so I'm coming from the inside of the moccasin. If I go through my lashing here, it's gonna go through the tan side, pull that through. And the reason I want it to be on the tan side, because I want it to lay this way, and that's the way it's gonna lay. And so we found the center here, and then we found the center here that's going to match up. So that's where we're going to start. And we're going to the top of the sewing. And then we're going to put it at the bottom. So it all lines up like that. Okay, so this is where it kind of gets tricky for people. Because basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down, I'm going to go over to the left, and I'm going to come back up. and then I'm gonna go over to the left and go back down. So we're just going like,
You're traveling without ever having to wrap it, or
yeah, so your thread is never gonna be on the outside here. But the tricky part is, when people seem to get lost in the process. So when I'm coming back up from the sole, I gotta go through the top of the moccasin to the inside of the moccasin, you know, from the outside of the moccasin to the inside. And I want it to line up too. I want it to line up. Okay, so now we're going to the inside of the moccasin, and then we can go back to the lashing, go back to the sole, and then when we get to the bottom, make sure the edge of our moccasin is tucked underneath, down to the top of the moccasin, the outside, back into the inside. Now our thread's on the inside, so we gotta find a way to get our thread outside the moccasins. We gotta come back out. And we're always trying to make sure we're lining ourselves up with our pre-punched holes here. Let's try to pull it tight. These ones on the edge are gonna get loose, right? When you start doing the next stitch. Well, as you tighten them, these ones over here are gonna stay tight. So just tighten them really good. I'm gonna stop for this side, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop here. And I'm gonna fold this over and I'm gonna tie this off here. It's right at the heel, as you can see. Kind of like a couple inches off the heel here. Make sure that's got tight.
It's beautiful to see how it takes shape,
Yeah.
you know, like from the flat now.
And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some more thread and I'm gonna come down the other side. And I'm gonna stop like roughly the same area. And then I'm gonna take the back ends and sew them together. Bring them forward and they're gonna come in the back.